Coming up, the top mistakes or potential mistakes that I see home buyers make right after this. Hey everyone, Kip Craglow here with Premier Property Group, Oregon licensed real estate broker. And today I just want to talk about some of the potential mistakes or mistakes that I see home buyers making on a regular basis. I'll break it down into two areas. First, financial, the financing part of it, and then the second would be the house hunt and trying to find that perfect home. So the first of all in the financing is getting the wrong lender. There are a lot of really good lenders out there. There are some not so good lenders out there. There's guys sitting in their basement of their house doing loans online. There are also the big companies like Quicken or Rocket Mortgage and things like that. So there are a lot of choices to make, but I always recommend using a local lender, especially ones that I work with on a regular basis, because number one, when I call them, they pick up their phone. They answer my questions. They're always available. If you need a pre-approval letter on a Saturday afternoon, I can get that pre-approval letter sent to me within usually a half an hour or less. So it's really good to use a local lender. On top of all those reasons, they know the local programs like the Oregon Bond Program or any other program that might be local that could get you a better rate, lower fees maybe. So it's just really good to use a local lender that you can sit down, have a conversation with, and they can ask you some certain questions to get to know what's important to you, get to know your dreams, and then really help you get that to a reality. And if for some reason you are not in the position to buy a home today, they can put you on a path to be able to make that reality come true in the next few months or even a couple of years, depending upon your financial situation. The next is thinking that you need 20% down. There are so many programs nowadays. VA is 0% down, FHA is 3.5%. There are many other programs that are anywhere between 1% and 3.5%. So plenty of programs out there, so you don't have to spend 20% of the value of that home on a down payment. So once again, you look at a good lender, they will tell you all the programs that you're eligible for, and then you can make a good choice on what's best for you and your family. Next is not getting pre-approved. A lot of people go out, they look for houses, they start looking online, they think based on what they make that they can afford X based on an online calculator, but they realize that they've been looking at $400,000 houses, and once they get pre-approved, they can only afford $350,000. And so your expectations here, and then you can only afford this. And so there's going to be a difference there in the size, the quality, the condition, the location of that home. And that could really put a damper on your emotions during the home buying process. The next would be in kind of correlation with that is focusing so much on what the lender says you can afford as opposed to what you want to afford on a monthly basis. So if you can afford a $400,000 home, that's about a $2,600 mortgage, but you can only afford out of your budget maybe $2,200 or $2,300, then you need to be looking at a little bit lower priced home and making sure that it comes in where you're comfortable, so that way you're not house poor, you're able to buy furniture, you're able to do things that you want outside of owning your home, like travel or just go out hiking and do things, go to museums or whatever. So you don't want to have every penny that you have left in your paycheck to go to your mortgage every month. Next is buying down points. So you can pay money to reduce your interest rate a little bit. And sometimes that can be really great, but sometimes maybe not. If you're buying down 0.25% and that's going to cost you, say, $1,500, that's only about $10 a month in your mortgage. So it's going to take many, many, many months for you to pay that money back. And if you're planning on moving in 5 to 7 years, you may not be able to recoup all that money that you put into buying down that point. So it might be better to save that money and have that slightly higher interest rate. The next one is not necessarily a financing one, but it has to do with finances, and that is skipping the inspection process. Inspections are not cheap, but they are so worthwhile. And when you're buying probably the most expensive purchase you'll ever make in your life, spending a few $100s or $1,000 is well worth it to have peace of mind. You know, you don't want to skip a sewer inspection and find out a year in that your sewer's cracked and you have to spend $5,000 to replace it. That $125 is worth it because now during the repair and inspection negotiation period, we can try to negotiate that the seller pays for that, and it's not going to be coming out of your pocket. And then the last one is not taking on any new debt during the time that your offer is accepted and you close on that property and you have the keys. It's happened many times where someone will go out, they're so excited, they buy new furniture, they buy a new car, and now their debt to income ratio changes and they can no longer afford that home, and the lender has to now decline them because of that additional debt that they took on. So now let's get into the fun part, the house hunting, and some of the mistakes that I see here. First one is timing the market. You know, I understand when you're at the peak of the market, you think that it's too high, but you never know, it could go higher. If it's at the very low end, you think it can't go any lower, and then it goes lower and prices go down. So there's never a good time. You just have to buy when you're ready, when you've got the money, when you find the right house. That's when you go for it. Don't worry about trying to time the market. Unless obviously there's a huge financial issue like our recession in 2005 and people are losing their jobs, then obviously you might want to hold off for a little bit and make sure that you are financially secure before you purchase that house. But that's more about what, your situation and not the market. So the market's always changing. Do what's best for you and your family, and you will always be on the good side. Next is being inflexible, and there's a couple things here I'll talk about, but being inflexible about what exactly you want. There is no perfect house out there. The house I moved into is not perfect, but it's a great house and we love it. There are things we'd love to change, and maybe we will someday, but we've lived with them for a few years and we're just fine with them. You may want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but what's best for you right now in the neighborhood you want to be in the price range, is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. There may be room to add a bathroom down the road. You may not have the closet space you want, but if the rooms are big enough, you may be able to put an armoire in to add more storage or an extra dresser. And then I'll go to the next one, which is focusing on the small things. And that is like paint color, bathroom tile, or countertops in the kitchen. Those are not cheap, but they're inexpensive in compared to buying an entire home. You could replace maybe your countertops for $3,000 or $4,000 and have exactly what you want, or put a few $100s into that floor in the bathroom and you'll have the exact tile you want. And paint, $20 or $30 a gallon, and you can repaint an entire room and make it the color that you want. So focusing on those small things. Let's get the big things in there, the size of the home, etc., and then you can make it your own after that. And then 2 more things, and I'll use the word Zestimate as a generic word, kind of like Kleenex, but really looking at all of the online real estate sites and thinking that that's what the value of the home is that you're making an offer on. If you see a home that you love and it's $350,000, but Zestimate says $325, Redfin says $310, maybe Realtor.com says $360. You never know. None of those are accurate because they're all on an algorithm. The listing agent priced the home, or suggested to the seller that they price the home based on their expertise in looking at comparable properties that have sold, and they look at the countertops, any updates, the size of the bathrooms, the size of the bedrooms, the size of the lot, amenities, maybe a finished basement, maybe one has a non-finished basement. So you really have to look at the price of the home and the comparables, and a good buyer's agent will help you choose that right value for what you should put in an offer. Give you a range. Maybe it's $340 to $360, so $350 is right in the middle. Maybe it is a little expensive, or maybe it's a little bit priced a little bit under the market because they're hoping to get multiple offers. So you really have to rely on the expertise of the real estate agent in order to make a really great decision on the price of that home, not on online Zestimates. And then the last one is if you're buying a house, work with a buyer's agent. Don't rely on the person who's listing the house to help you. They have a fiduciary duty to the seller. They do not have a fiduciary duty to you. So they're going to do what's in the best interest of the seller, and they're going to help you get in that house. But how can they try to get the most amount of money for the seller, have them do the least amount of repairs when they're trying to get you the lowest price for the property and the most amount of repairs? It just doesn't work. It's a conflict of interest, in my opinion. It is legal, but it's just a conflict of interest. So anyway, those are the biggest mistakes that I have seen in helping home buyers in the recent couple of years. So if you have any questions about the real estate market, the buying process, or the selling process, please reach out. I would love to help you. My team and I are waiting and ready to really get you in the home of your dreams, or to help you move on to the next home. So please, if you like this video, hit subscribe, and I'd love you to ring that bell so you get notified when all my new videos come up. Thanks.